Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. This show is dedicated to asking tough questions for you, the viewers. We bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Joining us here today at our MCTV studios, we have with us West District City Councilor and newly appointed Vice Chair for the City Council of Methuen, Mr. Jim Hadja. Mr. Hadja, welcome to the show.
Hi, Hector. Thanks for having me today.
No problem. Thank you for coming in. Mr. Hadja, for all those viewers who are watching us either on Facebook, on YouTube, or here on MCTV, who may not know who Jim Hadja is, why don't you tell us who Jim Hadja is?
Sure. I'm the West District City Councilor, and I live off of Forest Street. My wife, Laura, and I have pretty much lived in Methuen our whole life. I have 3 children, a daughter, Allison, who's a sophomore at UMass Lowell, daughter, Elizabeth, who's a senior at Methuen High, and my son, Michael's in 6th grade at the Marsh School. I work for Alcatel-Lucent. I'm a tech support engineer. I've worked with them now for quite some time, since 1985. And other than 4 years when we lived in Ohio, I moved for the company for work and then came back. We've lived, both my wife and I have lived in Methuen our whole life. And none of us really had anything to do with politics for a family or mine, but last election I decided to get involved, thought maybe I could take some of my talents. Because besides my job at Alcatel-Lucent, my background is I'm an electrical engineer. I went to UMass Lowell, and then my company sent me to Clemson for my master's degree, and then through executive education, I've gone to the Fuqua School of Business at Duke, and then I've also gone to the Whittemore School of Business up at UNH for executive education. So I thought I had some good background and some experience that perhaps I could, help get things working better in the city, and ran for office and won on my first attempt. So I'm really happy about that. And then, like you said, just recently I got nominated and voted as the vice chair. So I'm kind of really happy about that and proud.
Congratulations on both. Winning your first election and also becoming a vice chair. This is your first term, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Correct. Now, what made you decide to run for office?
I just think, of frustration. I thought, like I said, I think, I could, first of all, I think I could foresee that we're going to have budget issues because of the economy. You could tell it was going to be tough times, and we're in tough times. And so I think that motivated me to say, well, I think it's time for me to I think I could use some of the skills because I've done similar activities in my company, and I think there's a lot of parallels between what I've done in my work and what we are doing here in the city. So that really is what motivated me to run, is that I thought my skills and my background and my education would help me to do a good job of helping the city. That's really what motivated me to run.
And you're well qualified. According to your resume, you're well qualified, and we believe you are my city councilor. I also live on the West District, and I'll tell you, every time I need to reach out to you, you're always there.
Oh, thanks.
So
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you.
I do my best. As I tell everybody, I work. I have a job. I work. And I do my best to put in as much time as I have to on the city council.
And that's something doesn't happen with every politician. Not every politician is willing to be open and transparent with their constituents, and I have to publicly state that you have been open and transparent every time we've reached out to you. But I wanted to discuss the open meeting law that the Attorney General found that Methuen City Councilors had violated. Do you agree with the findings of the Attorney General?
Yeah. I mean, I read the report the Attorney General issued, and I think it was very accurate. I think it was right on. It was spot on. I mean, in fact, I think where she said, or where the Attorney General report states we kind of went wrong, is they said, for sure we went into executive session for all the right reasons. I mean, if you look, Purpose 3 clearly says you can have an executive session to discuss ongoing collective bargaining agreements, that's what the discussion was about for pretty much the whole meeting. Up until, as the report points out, somewhere along the line, about an hour into the meeting, we started discussing things that probably didn't have as much to do with collective bargaining and more to do with just a regular budget. And the two are related, so it's not like a clear line between, right? Because, the collective bargaining agreement has absolute impact on the budget, and they're both being developed at the same time. So, but I think they did the right job. They kind of picked the point where they said, hey, after this point, you really should have exited executive session and come into regular session. You need to release all of those minutes And then for the time before that, the hour that was legally in executive session, you need to review it to say, given now time has passed, do you still need it? And if you don't need it, release the records. And I think what you saw is the council just unanimously voted, release all the records, because even the collective bargaining discussion, now that it's all done, there's no need that it can't be shared in public.
Right.
So.
Now, we've had some other members of the city councilors as well. We've asked them the question in regards to whose job is it to ensure that the councilors are advised of what they must do so that the state doesn't come in, the attorney general doesn't come in and say you violated an open meeting law.
I think that would definitely fall under the role of the solicitor. He's there to be an advisor to the city council. That's one of his jobs. And I mean, I think if you look back in the minutes, at the beginning, clearly when they say, hey, we're going to go into executive session to discuss at the time it was the police department collective bargaining agreements. And I seem to remember that there was discussion on, do we discuss both the superiors and the patrolmen at the same time? And he gave us advice on, you only want to talk about one at a time. And that's why we, at that evening, there was no representative from the patrolmen. There was only a representative from the superiors. So we went into executive session with the head of the superiors union to talk about the collective bargaining agreement for that group. So he did, and he gave us advice, and he made sure we did it the right way, meaning you inform the public, you're going into executive session, you state whether you're going to come back into, or you're going to just exit at the end. We said we're coming back. That's why people went to wait out in the hall. So he's the one who gives us advice.
And he worked for the city councilors directly.
Yeah. We appoint and vote him in. That's correct. Unlike most of the other positions. I mean, he works for the people too. He has direct responsibility for the people and for doing other matters on behalf of the city in general.
Because he's paid by taxpayer money.
Yes,
correct.
And that's his role. If you look it up in the charter and in the code, I mean, he's there to represent the city of Methuen. He's our lawyer, basically. But I mean, if you look back, at some point, the council asked all members other than city councilors to leave the room. Which, if you look at the law, I mean, you can do that. I mean, you absolutely, at any time, we can ask the mayor to leave the meeting. We can ask the solicitor to leave the meeting. In a public session, we can do that. We can also, in executive session, we can ask them to leave. The unfortunate thing is when we did that, I mean, I think that's where, I look at myself saying, I probably don't know the law well enough to be able to determine when did we go from that talking about collective bargaining to talking about budget. I mean, I know in there, you can tell when I was talking about the budget. I mean, I was clearly giving numbers that were in the budget, not knowing that we probably shouldn't be discussing that in executive session, but we had asked the solicitor to leave. He wasn't there to go, hey, you should stop. So, I mean, to me, what I learned, Hector, on this is that I would never ask the solicitor to leave again. And I would honestly think if someone did ask him to leave, I'm going to get up and leave with him, only because I think I know the law better now. I printed it out and read it, but I don't think as a counselor I should be focusing on the legal aspects. I should be focusing on the issue at hand and let him be the one to tell me. And that's what I learned out of this. There's no way I would be in an executive session without the solicitor there to advise and counsel us on that.
But we have the city councilors and we have the city solicitor who advises the council, and we have the mayor who oversees the whole entire city. These are people that the people have elected to have them work together. So why would the mayor or even the solicitor, because I believe in the minutes, and it was stated here that the solicitor was asked to leave. Why would the solicitor be asked to leave by any member of the council if they represent the council? I mean, wouldn't,
I wasn't the one who asked. I mean, I think it was in there that Councilor Giordano was the one who asked him to leave. And I think what he said was he wanted to speak only to the council. He wanted just to speak to my councilors or something like that. I mean, you'd have to ask him why. I don't know. And I mean, again, I'll just be honest with you, that night, and I mean, I'm sure you know this, you at some of these meetings, right? I have my laptop there because I get the budget electronically. The budget is a very large document. There's 20 some odd tabs. It's a big Excel worksheet. I think we were on version 3 in 2 days or something. And I really was focusing on what changed from the previous budget to the next budget. So I'm kind of like, at the same time I'm trying to listen, I'm going through that budget. But I remember him asking him to leave, but not thinking that, wow, this could be a big mistake, because without him there, who's going to be able to determine whether we're in executive session or not? I think that was a mistake, and which is why I'm saying I learned from it. Going forward, I won't do that again. But I don't know. I can't think, honestly, myself, I can't think of a reason why I would ever ask the solicitor to leave the meeting. I also can't think of a time when I would ask the mayor either, because, I mean, it's a public meeting. What I have to say to the council, or even to the mayor, I'm going to say it whether he's there or not. So I wouldn't do that. But as far as why it happened that night, I really don't know. I can just tell you, going forward, I won't stay in the room if that happens again in executive session, because I think it's too dangerous.
Yeah, especially where open meeting law is that. It's just that.
Correct.
Open. It's
Correct.
open. It's open meeting,
Correct.
and it should be open to the public,
Correct.
and the people should have the right. I will state that we have extended an invitation to our city solicitor to come in and discuss these issues with us. We are still working with his office, and we hope to have him on our show, and so he can respond in regards to the questions that we've posed.
Now, I'll say this. I don't know legally if there's issues, but I would just say that as an employee, because like I'm an elected official,
right.
So I can come on your show, I'll talk to you about anything, right? I mean, about the city of Methuen. But I mean, he's an employee. I'm not so sure he would be allowed to come on a show. I know in my company, I can't go on your show. I couldn't sit here right now and talk to you about my corporation and what we're doing. I'm not allowed to do that. That's a public relations job, and clearly I can't do that. I think he's in the same space as an employee.
Right.
And I'm only one counselor. I'm not his employer, but I would be nervous about having him talk on a show like this, because he's an employee. It's different than being an elected official. So, and I don't know what he's telling you, but I think he would have to look at being an employee of the city. Coming on here to talk about city issues might be a problem.
Right.
Like a
Or
conflict
maybe
or
not
something.
even that. We can also talk to him in general terms, or maybe get some definitions.
Sure, about what the
into
solicitor's job
Correct.
is. I think that would be fine.
Correct.
But he's going to have to be. Like I said, I'm just saying, like, you could ask me general things about my company, but I couldn't talk to you about how we're doing as a business or where's our new technologies, things like that. I'm not allowed to speak about that.
Right. Now, as city councilor, what steps do you think could be taken to ensure that everything is open?
Everything is open.
Open and transparent.
Well, I mean, obviously the law states it has to be open. I mean, in fact, you have to really think about it, because if we're leaving the meeting some night and 5 councilors are in the parking lot, we can't talk. I mean, and I've learned from the others, from my peers, being that I'm new, that like they're very aware of that, and I am too now. Like all of a sudden you'll go, well, how many of us are here? And I was at a meeting one time when the Healthcare Coalition invited us to a meeting, and there were too many of us there. Oh no, and a constituent meeting too on an issue. There were too many of us there. One of the councilors said, "Oh, I'll leave," because we weren't allowed to have us there. So I mean, I think the open meeting laws are really good. There are cases clearly that the law allows us to meet in executive session. This collective bargaining is definitely one of them, right? There's the purposes. It's on the AG's website. You can see, and read the law yourself. But I think, like I said, for me, for sure, it would be, I'm not going to let the solicitor go. I mean, leave again, because I think he knows it inside and out. And all of us, I mean, you're there. Like I told you, I'll say whatever I have to say in public. But you have to protect the interests of the city as well. Correct. And if you're in an active collective bargaining negotiation with one group, you may not want to release that publicly to the others until it's done. Same with a legal issue. If we're discussing a legal issue, you can't say it in public, because you don't want, like, your solicitor or right to give that information out. It's not right. So
correct. I agree.
But I think the vast majority of our work is done in open session and does not have anything to do with these executive sessions.
Now, it's my understanding that not just are you the vice chair, newly appointed vice chair, but you're also the chair of the finance committee, correct?
Yes.
Are those meetings open?
Yeah, they're posted, sure.
Yeah.
When I announce a meeting, they're absolutely, the city council secretaries get a notification as official notice. The public can attend, and I publish minutes that I just give them to the council. But people could attend those if they wanted to.
How often are those type of meetings held?
Well, it's not a set schedule.
It's not.
I just know on this healthcare initiative that we just passed at the last meeting, we met 4 times over a span of about 7 weeks. It's usually once a month, but this issue was so kind of complex and so important. We did meet 4 times over, like, I think it was twice in November, once at the end of October, and then once in December, beginning of December. And again, it's usually more on, we meet on a regular basis once a month maybe, but if there's an issue that we're diving into, we can meet more often than that. It's not on a set schedule ahead of time. We just have to give announcement, I believe it's 48 hours notice of a meeting like that.
So that's part of the procedures?
Yeah. I let the council secretary know where the finance committee's meeting, and there's an official notice that's issued. Yes, that's true.
Well, being that it's a new year, what are some of the plans that you have as a city councilor for your constituents to bring some relief to them as far as government, as far as giving them back their government? What are some of the steps you think should be taken, and what are some of the issues that you would like to bring forward to help the constituents?
I mean, give back government. Well, we all get to vote. And if you really want to make a change, I tell people this all the time. If people call me on an issue, we're discussing, and they're intelligent about issues and understand what's going on, I mean, I tell them, run for office. I mean, if you feel strongly and you have the time to dive into these issues and get involved, run for office. I mean, that's the number one thing I think you could do, right? Try to make a difference, run for office. The other thing is get involved with your government. Come to the meetings, speak at public participation. I mean, we just did the tax rate, right? And I don't even know if there were 2 or 3 people there, But then afterwards you'll hear all people, you did. But, you got to come. You got to get involved. Call me, speak up, come to the meetings. I think, it's up to each one of us to be involved. I mean, we all get to vote, but if you're not involved, it's like anything else, right? And, you're kind of going to get what you elect and go from there. Now, me personally, if you're asking what we're going to be focused on for this year, I mean, for sure, the budget's going to be very difficult this year. And I mean, again, it's part of the reasons why I ran. I think I have some experience in that area. Hopefully, I can help the council and the mayor and the city on that, because we're going to have to make decisions, tough decisions again. And when you make the right decisions, things go a lot better than if you don't make the right decisions.
You got other members that you have to work with too and try to convince them as well.
And Hector, I work in a big company, and that's how it is at work too. I mean, there's no one person who's in charge of even a big project. I mean, and the person, if you went all the way up the line to the person who is in charge, well, they're not the ones who are going to be making the day-to-day decisions. I have to work with my peers and with others. I mean, so I find that it's very in working through issues and getting the getting the cooperation of people together. I mean, and it's usually, we're all on the same page because we're all trying to do what we think is best for the city.
Right. So hopefully we don't have any more of the open meeting law violations now that it's been out and everybody's committed to working to ensure that their solicitors protecting you guys doing your job. But as far as the city of Methuen in general, what should the constituents expect from Mr. Jim Hadger, their councilors, besides calling you up and saying, Jim, I have this problem here? What are some of the things that a city councilor do for their constituents, for those that may not know what is?
Well, I think what I'm there to do and what I try to do is understand the issues at hand to, like I said, because as a legislator, I can create new ordinances, new resolutions. I get to vote on appropriations and appointments from the mayor. That's what the job of the legislative body is. So I take that very seriously. So, I'm constantly trying to look at what are the big issues that we have today in the city that I feel like as a legislator I can make a difference to help the city, and that's where healthcare came from. In fact, that's where the whole finance committee, I was the one who came up with the idea of let's have a finance subcommittee to specifically look at financial issues and be the ones to work those issues in the background to give information to the council. So, that's what when I tell people, what do I do for them? That's what I feel like the biggest part of my job is I was elected to be their representative, to be the one who's doing all the homework and doing all the investigation on, what are the right decisions to make. Where are the areas where we need new legislation to make things better, whether it be compensatory time, whether it be health care, whether it be taxes, right? Looking at getting it done either through legislation or through, votes on appropriations or things like that from the mayor. And like I said, I think what I commit to do is I make sure that when I take a vote, I make a vote based on what I think is the best vote for the city of Methuen and my constituents.
Well, just want to remind the viewers you are watching Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. We are here speaking today with our West District City Councilor and Vice Chair of the City Councilors for Methuen, Mr. Jim Hajer. Mr. Hajer, let me just ask you, how do we get the people engaged? How does the City Council work to get more people involved? I mean, I know people are tied up with their lives at school and so on, but how does the City Councilors get the people engaged in their government?
Yeah, I think part of it is if people feel like that, that when they give input, if I can convince people, I'm telling you, come to the meeting, call me, give me your ideas. If we get them to come and we get ideas from them, we need to, and I will give people feedback. If they come to me with something that I don't agree with, I tell them right away, I don't agree with it. But if they come to me with something that I do agree with, I think is a good idea, I need to bring it forward. I need to take action on it. Because I think the first nut is difficult. Getting people involved today is not easy. People are very busy. People, I think, probably at all levels of government feel like that, that they're not listening. But I will tell you this, unlike Washington, unlike Beacon Hill, I live here, right? Our meetings are right at Town Hall. The councilors are very accessible. The issues that are at hand are not complicated to all of us because we live here. They're about to do with our community. So this is the one place where people should feel that their voice will be heard. And so if I can get them motivated to understand that this is your government, you need to speak up. I'm going to do the best I can to do what I think is right, but I want your input so I can make a decision, right? But then if we do get them to come forward, we have to make sure that we let them know that we're listening. Meaning if they have a good idea, we take action. Because the worst, even in a company, the worst thing you can do is put up the suggestion box or something, right? And then when the employees put the suggestions in, you don't do anything with them because suddenly you realize, like, well, why am I? They're asking me for my opinion or my idea, and then they're not doing anything with it. It just gets them frustrated, and now they don't want to give ideas anymore. So I think we have to really do a good job of letting people know that we are open to listening and taking those ideas and taking action on them, and then do it. You know what I'm saying? Walk the talk type thing. And I can tell you, I'm willing to do that. I absolutely. People call me and I explain to them why the votes I've taken or upcoming votes. I've also gotten some really good ideas from people on some of the legislation that I've had to tweak it a little bit based on input that people have given me, and I really appreciate that.
And if any constituent, they can always look either at the charter or any proposed bills ahead of time. There's an agenda that the City Council gives out each week.
Oh yeah, by law, it's posted a week in advance. You can go. It's on the web. They should put it up anyway. It's usually there ahead of time, or you can go to City Hall and get that agenda. We always have public participation, always. A lot of times, though, there's really nobody there. There's very few people, which is kind of too bad. But again, I think that's where people have to understand. If you want to be part of this and you want to get involved, that's how you need to do it. You need to go and have your voice be heard. Because, just sitting down over coffee at Meehan's complaining about it later, fine, but everybody complains about everything. But, get off your butt and do something about it. Come to a meeting, make your voice be heard. And like I tell you, run for office. If you really, like I said, I felt strongly motivated that I could make a difference, and I really like what I'm doing, and run for office. I think that's a good thing too.
But what about those people that don't want to be a politician? They just want to oppose the politicians. Because if you run for office, you're one of the lucky ones that ran first time, and you were elected. Did you have name recognition or the money, the backing? Because that's what it takes for someone to get elected.
Yeah, you go and have to go. Well, and I'm not an expert on running for office, so why you want? I just ran on. Here's my message, and here's who I am. Here's what I think I can do, and I tried my best to get the message out there that if you elect me, this is what I'm going to try to get done. And I'm going to use all my experience and knowledge to try to make things better. And in terms of if somebody doesn't have the time to put into it, well, again, how much time does it take on a specific issue to call your counselor, call me and give me your advice, or come to a meeting and publicly state. I think that, how much time does it really take? And if you don't want to take the time, well then, like anything else, and don't complain later. But, and yeah, running for office, I'm not going to downplay it. It's a lot of work. And I don't think it's probably, not everybody would want to do this, because if you don't like it, then you're not going to want to do this. But that doesn't say that on an issue, you can't get very involved. I mean, that was kind of what pulled me in. They tried to do extended learning time in the schools. I was dead set against it. I had my reasons. I did a lot of homework and kind of, got involved that way, even though I wasn't elected. So you kind of just have to get involved.
Now, do you think that should all elected officials be competent, like in modern technology? Because, internet, high speed, I mean, we have the whole 9 yards now. Some people don't even use it. I don't know if it happens here in Methuen, but just in general speaking, should they be up to date with those type of things?
I would say this. I think if you're good with technology and computers, and it helps, right? Because you can communicate a lot more effectively. And I think some of these mediums that people use, like Facebook and things, I mean, that's what is really good. I can get my idea out to a lot of people really quickly, really easy. But that's not to say that it's a prerequisite, because, I mean, let's face it, there's nothing, when we meet as a council, there's nothing required that's electronic. I mean, the issues, right? You can call people, you can read information, you can come to City Hall and get the information. It's just that the electronic part makes it a lot easier to quickly get the information and share information, but I don't think it's a prerequisite. I mean, like I said, it's more of just being efficient and effective. If you know how to do this stuff, it can help. But I don't think that if you don't know how to use a computer, you shouldn't run for office. I mean, really, there's nothing in this job that says you need to be able to get email.
Right.
Because if you have a phone, I mean, you can. It's not. I wouldn't say it should be a requirement. I just think it helps you be more efficient and effective if you're good with technology, especially today. Which is why maybe the young kids should run for office, because they know way more about it even than I do.
And speaking about young children running for office and people not engaged, should all communities, not just Methuen, do a better job at educating the children about how important it is to get involved? So when they come out of high school, maybe there's a chance for someone getting involved, younger face, new ideas, and so on.
Yeah,
What's your take on that?
I think that would probably be a really good thing. If they have in high school, I know they take classes on government, but maybe that is something to look at. Is there a way that either through the school committee or the council, that maybe there's something we could set up with a little program where we work with some of the young kids to show them what we do, maybe get them excited about being involved.
Maybe
with,
even act out as a city.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
I mean, I know, like the school committee, my daughter Allison was actually the high school representative for a year on the school committee. She sat at school committee meetings as the student representative. Now, we don't have that on the council, but maybe that's something we could look at. I mean, it's a lot of work for that kid to do, but maybe it's even better for us to just get involved with a program at the high school. That's really a good idea. Maybe we should look at that, just to have some sort of a program where they can get, how does local government work?
Well, I appreciate you, Mr. Hadger, coming in, being open and transparent, not just with my viewers, but also with your constituents in Methuen who watches us here on MCTV. I want to remind all of you, if you have a question for your government or legal representations that you want us to ask us, send us an email at theHectorMontalvoShow@yahoo.com. You can visit our Facebook page /keyword/Behind the Scenes with Hector Montalvo, or visit our YouTube page, keyword Cableman411. I want to thank my guests. I want to thank the crew on Behind the Scenes. I want to thank MCTV staff, and thank you at home for watching. My name is Hector Montalvo. Join us next time as we go behind the scenes to ask the tough questions, bring you their responses. We let you decide. Thank you for watching.